Young boy has nighttime sighting near Christney year. 1968 season. Summer month. July state. Indiana County. Spencer County location details. As you travel south on Highway 131 from Gentryville, you will hit a curve that turns east from an intersection with a highway that comes from Boonville. In. At a sharp curve back to the south towards Christney. In. You turn off to the east and follow a one-lane country road east to an T intersection with another country road. You will be about 1/4 mile off 131. Then you turn left on this gravel road and head north. You will see the old barn and farmhouse just to your right. Today a cell tower stands on the property, which makes it easy to spot and identify. Nearest town, Christney. Nearest road, country gravel road or Highway 131. Observed. I was just a young boy then, staying at my grandfather's farm in the summertime. I slept up in the attic at night with my Uncle Donnie, who was helping my grandfather with his dairy farm. We had just laid down when my Uncle Donnie got right back up and headed downstairs. I was on my stomach looking east out the window. We had 2 windows in the attic for ventilation. One was on the west and the other was on the east end. We had a small brooder house just east of the farmhouse. I also was looking out over the kitchen roof, which was actually an add-on to an old house porch. Suddenly a man walked out in the open from just north of the brooder shed as a truck pulled into the driveway. At the same time a truck pulled into the driveway. The driveway came up the hill. The one-lane gravel road ran north to south, to the east, and then curved toward the north, to the kitchen area. The headlights glanced or lit up the creature. 3 things I noticed. First, the hair, face, or body did not shine or reflect any light. The creature was very dark. This could be one reason Bigfoot is difficult to spot or see in wooded areas. Secondly, I realized it did not look like a man because the arms were abnormally long. Just like a man, the arms were swinging, but closer to the knees than the ordinary person. Height appeared close to that of a normal adult male. I would say under 6 foot tall, but not under 5 foot tall. The head was fairly rounded. The creature dashed off to the west, and quite frankly I was petrified with fear. My Uncle Donnie liked to scare me with boogeyman stories, and I had just seen my first real live one. A little later the truck left and my Uncle Donnie came up. I told him I had seen somebody outside by the shed. He went back downstairs, told my grandfather, and they grabbed their shotguns and searched around the house, and then drove the old Ford pickup up and down the road several times with flashlights. They did not see or find anyone. Also noticed, despite all the disturbances and changes in the area, some interesting things have occurred since then. Coyotes returned in large numbers. Bobcats made a comeback and are quite common. My grandfather claims to have seen a small black bear in the intervening years on the farm, about 16 years ago, turkey, and other kinds of wildlife. Lincoln State Park is to the north about 10 miles of my grandfather's farm, and a strip of woods still covers a lot of the area between the farm and the state park. I suspect this Bigfoot was a young animal searching for a place to live. Mining had just started, farms were becoming more intensive, and other changes were taking place. The return of predators might have also caused the animal to relocate. A black bear might have been more than a match for young Bigfoot. What still strikes me was the non-relective quality of the fur. If what I saw was truly Bigfoot, this is an animal that moves in the shadows of deep forest, and at night. Daylight observations must be abnormal in this part of the world. The other thing that struck me was the animal was used to humans, but reacted quickly when headlights hit it. It did not freeze like so many other animals will, such as deer. I suspect it doesn't like large groups of people. That the best or most likely encounters are when the animal doesn't feel exposed or when only 1 or 2 other humans are around. This would fit the behavior of an animal who had mostly solitary and scattered territories. I think to catch a Bigfoot, You must work alone or in pairs, too many people drives them off. Be willing to set up blinds where you lay down. Standing up may provoke a natural flight response in young animals and may allow the animals to see you. Your best chances of spotting one is at night under thick canopies or moonless nights, and the animal can not only smell, see and hear you. He has above average intelligence. Or at least he is smart enough to bolt instead of staring into the headlights. Someone once told if a turkey could smell as well as he could see and hear, you would never manage to shoot one. Throw a little simian intelligence and you have a real job of ever finding or catching or shooting one. One other thing that really struck me. He didn't follow a natural ridge or waterway like most animals do. He was cutting across terrain featureless. The one advantage perhaps an upright ape has over other creatures. He doesn't follow or trek across the easiest routes or is funneled by terrain. Something I could speculate about again. Other witnesses, number. No one else saw it. Other stories, number. Except for the occasional story in the Evansville Courier and Press. Time and conditions. The incident occurred right after sundown. Somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. since we usually went to bed by then. Environment. The environment was in the open, next to farmland in a 3-crop rotation with dairy cattle. The house sits on top of a small hill. The creature was coming up from a field and drainage ditch and from the vicinity of a small farm pond. At the time, the east side of the farm was heavily wooded and far fewer houses existed in the area. Principally 3 farmers farmed the land in and around this area to the south and east of the farm. On the side of the watershed or drainage at the time was forest woodlots and abandoned farm fields. The land is hilly and the Ohio River is only several miles south of there. In the years since this incident, the land east and south of the farm has been developed. More houses and people now exist along the roads. A power plant was built just south of Chrisney near Rockport, Indiana. Also, the land east was heavily stripped mined for coal. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Tony Gerard. I spoke with the witness by phone. He was about 8 or 9 years old at the time of his sighting. The creature was in view from the headlights for about 3 seconds. It turned and looked toward the lights, then took off running. The gait was described as odd, long strides with its long arms swinging by its sides. The arms seemed to reach below knee length. He described the body build as on the thin side and it did not seem to have a distinct neck. He had no real impression about the length of the body hair. He stressed how unreflective the creature was, that even its face did not seem to reflect much light.
A TV writer has close encounter at night near Patronville, with an artist sketch. Year, 2008 season, fall month, September state, Indiana County, Spencer County nearest town, Patronville nearest road, West County Road 300S observed. It's taken me a long time to share this story, about 7 years. My family, friends and I used to ride ATVs very often, usually on the weekends. I had the biggest 4-wheeler, so I usually stayed in the very back in case someone got into trouble or hung up. There was about 15 ATVs. One night we were going through a classified forest called Kramer's Woods, which is an old-growth forest with a tight winding trail and massive trees. As we went around a wet, muddy turn, I seen the ATV in front of mine. Lights reflecting off the water hit something behind a tree that I was approaching. It looked hairy, but I wasn't sure. Well, as I approached the tree while turning, the ATV left the thing, which was on my right, and I locked eyes. I'm 44 now, so I would have been 37 at the time. I'm 6 feet tall, 250 pounds and rigid. I'm an old country boy and fear no man and could match or best most in strength, but this thing was no man. It was massive and was barely hiding behind this massive tree. It was tight against the tree with both hands flat on it and its chest tight against its hands. What happens next is very strange to me, but I know they are more than just an animal now. When he and I looked at each other, we both knew he goofed and got caught in among that chain of ATVs. I was instantly terrified, but then instantly knew he was as scared as I was and wanted this situation to end. It was like we were in each other's head and came to an agreement to just go on. My wife was riding with me, so I never reacted because she would have screamed bloody murder if she would have seen it. It was 3 feet from us. I knew it was a male, just knew. He was at least 8.5 tall. I was the same height on my four-wheeler as I was standing, and I looked way up at it. It's funny how small you feel. This thing could have easily have grabbed me, my wife or entire ATV and threw us. That's how powerful it looked. I can't put to words how powerful it looked. I have gone online several times to try and see what I saw. Seen the white one on YouTube, but this one looked more human. People report red triangulated eyes, smelly and long matted coat. This one was none of that. Its coat was brownish orange with 2 to 3 straight hair. I could see grayish skin and muscle mass. There is no bodybuilder on the planet with the size muscle mass this thing had. Not much of a neck, but its head was huge. Its eyes were 2 to 3 times bigger, but just like ours with whites and pupil. The whites of his eyes I'll never forget because his eyes were what I was stuck on the most. The rest of him was at a glance. His mouth was very wide, 4 to 5, with its lips pulled tight from fear, just like us. As I pulled away, he took 1 step and vanished. I was amazed at how he was just gone, that quick. Other witnesses? No. Other witnesses? No other stories. No time and conditions. Night, dark but lit up from ATV lights reflecting off all the water. Environment: swamp, creek bottom. Forest follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Aaron Browder. On the 8th of September 15, I called and spoke to the witness at great length. The incident occurred in September 2008. The witness is still very shaken by the sighting, and it is still hard for him to talk about it. I was only the 3rd person he's ever told. The others were his father and his current girlfriend. He stated that he'd hoped that by telling others what happened it would help him get over and deal with the sighting. Per the witness, the events and sighting are ingrained in his brain, and he can see it like it happened yesterday. I worked with sketch artist Alex Evans and my witness, and after going back and forth with the details a few times, the witness has confirmed that this is exactly what he saw. The weather was clear, moon was out, and temperature in the 60s. It was close to 11 p.m. and they were riding in what is known as Kramer Original Woods. They were moving slow through a bottom area that was muddy. The location is very rural, and the closest major town is Rockport, with Patronville as the closest small town. The forest is an old-growth hardwood forest, very close to the Ohio River, and is a protected nature preserve of 224 acres. The witness was standing while riding on the last four-wheeler. There was roughly 20 feet between himself and the four-wheeler in front of him. The trail curved to the right and then back to the left. As the four-wheeler in front passed a tree on its right, something started to poke out from behind the tree. The movement caught his eye. His ex-wife was looking to the left towards the other four-wheelers ahead. As he approached the tree, he can see him, and they make eye contact. The witness refers to this creature as him. The creature was pressed against the tree, palms flat against it, chest against his hands. He stated he was so close that, if he could have melted into the tree, he would have. As he got closer to the tree, he stated he was focused on its eyes and mouth. The eyes were large, 2 to 3 times bigger than ours, and the mouth was extremely wide, 5 inches, and its lips were thin and held tight. He states the eyes looked human and he could see the whites. The witness states that he felt that the creature was scared, and so was he. In describing the face, he stated it looked Neanderthal and was more human than ape. The head was large and round. It was not conical. It was bearded, but he could see skin which he described as grayish tan. He stated the nose was wide, kind of pugged. He didn't really notice any ears. When asked if he could see any other features on the face, wrinkles, etc., he just said he looked like he was in his prime, could take on the world, and was handsome. The tree was at least 4 feet wide, an old hickory or oak. As he passed the tree, he came within 5 feet of the creature. He estimated it to be 8 to 8.5 feet tall with wide muscular shoulders, 3.5 feet wide, and 700 pounds. The shoulders were very rounded, muscular like a bodybuilder. The hair was brownish orange, 2 to 3 inches and straight, and looked clean. There was more hair on the forearms than the upper arms. The arms were very long. He stated it was massive, very lean, and muscular. It had very little to no hair on its hands. After passing the tree, He looked over his shoulder and it took one step and disappeared into the darkness. He was amazed at the quickness of the step, and it was just gone. In that step he could see its buttocks, which were very muscular, and noticed the muscularity and shine on the hair of its back. The entire sighting from first glimpse to the end lasted maybe 15 seconds. The witness has not returned to the exact spot in the 7 years since. He wanted to return the next day but was afraid. He stated this is not a dumb animal, and for those that think they are apes, are wrong. He felt it had feelings, intelligence, and emotion. He said the scariest thing is realizing that they have been there all along. I visited the area of the encounter on the 3rd of October 15 and find it to be a very good area and one I would expect possible Sasquatch activity.